Bonjour.
So hello everyone and a warm welcome to this session on AI and cybersecurity. It's the second day of the INCYBER Forum. For those of you who are at the back, you can come forward. There's still a little bit of room. Don't be shy. Now, I'm going to co-lead this session with Cyril, who's here with us. And we're going to be moderating this session, and we're going to be talking about two main themes. The first one is going to be with regards to securing the use of generative AI, and the second part of the presentation will try and cover what AI can do to help security teams, generative AI, and to make them more efficient. Now, before we go into the technical side of this, what I'd like to suggest is that we talk a little bit about the landscape of cyber risks. Microsoft monitors a group of attackers. I'm going to mention a few of them just to give you an idea. Over a period of 12 months, we were monitoring 200 groups of attackers. Today, we are now monitoring 300. So we've identified 100 more over a year, which is a lot. And so we're going to try and understand their behavior. We're going to publish some of our techniques, which are going to be made available in the form of CTI, to help you to better understand them so that you can understand all of the associated risks. Now, I'm going to show you some of them. It's always very difficult. You saw the opening conference yesterday. It's very difficult to link a nation to each of the attacks. Now, the first type of group that you can see here is called Typhoon. Now, we could affiliate it with Asia and China. The second one, which finishes with Blizzard, which would be linked to Russia, which targets infrastructure and companies in the energy sector. And then the third type of attacker is Sandstorm on the Iranian side to the east. And the fourth that was mentioned this morning as well during another conference is Sleet, which is linked to Northern Korea. So I would encourage you to look at the Cyber Signals report that Microsoft edits regularly, which gives you all of the details about all of the risks that are linked to these groups. Now, what's the impact of the behavior on the type of attacks that we would be able to identify? Now, you've got some examples here. These attackers are going to use models, language models, so that they can target their attacks, target their attempts at phishing. And here you can see some of the examples of what they have done to illustrate what you can see in real life. So deep fakes, phishing, which is more and more sophisticated, posts on social media, which use the style that a person would normally use, and that's something that we have identified. And we're monitoring all of the groups that I mentioned earlier on, and we consider them to be users of these tools for this type of recognition. So they're using generative AI. Now, we know they're using them, but what's the impact on our companies, on our business, on our local authorities, on our administrations? And what are the priorities as well that we have to have as chiefs of information security? Now, what are the attackers going to do? How can this technology be used as well for negative impacts? Now, there's an advantage for business to use AI. As you would have seen, your business will come towards you so that they can ask if they can use all these technologies so that they can improve their productivity, be more relevant, be more simplified, have better capabilities as well. And so when you're in the job of security, you've got to look at the two angles, the two sides of the medal, the positive and negative side. And even on the positive side, you've got things which potentially could be a source of attention, because somebody who's using AI in an approved way by his or her company can do something that they shouldn't, produce forbidden content, go away from or take information which is owned by the company and use it in generative AI for an economic model where that information is going to be used and reused. So what should you do today if you find yourself in security, or if you're interested in this because you're here today? First thing is you've got to understand how all of these models work and what the uses are which are going to be coming into your company. See what people do, and there's a real necessity for visibility, to take stock, have an inventory, and also look to the future because spontaneously there are people who are going to be testing things without asking anything of IT, and especially not of IT security. The second thing, once you've actually taken stock of the situation, you've got to try and control and assist the use of AI so that it can be done in a compliant way and a secure way and respect people's private lives. So if I take a list of customers and I start putting it in an application which doesn't have the right guarantees, then it can create an infringement of our rules or even of a regulation. And then if we try and turn it around the other way, maybe AI is going to be able to help us as professionals in security so that we can be even more productive in our job as well. And that's what we're going to see afterwards. So when we talk about AI, it's become the generic term to talk about machine learning, artificial intelligence, to talk about generative AI like ChatGPT, Bard, Gemini, etc. But what you have to realize is that AI has been around for a long time. We've now got this wave linked to generative AI, but we can't generalize AI in a simple way. So what we'd like to do is do a little bit like we did with the cloud, where we had a matrix of responsibilities that were shared in accordance with whether you had software as a service, platform as a service, or an application which is going to be developed, or whether you put everything in a toolbox online. And it's the same thing for AI, and you won't have the same level of responsibility. Part of it will be shared with your supplier, and part of it sometimes will only be the responsibility of your supplier. So we're not going to explain this chart today, this matrix, but if you are a simple user of AI, then you've got things which are limited that you have to look at. But if you make an application on the basis of AI, you've got more work to do. And if you start working on the creation of a machine learning model or your own AI, then you've got even more work to do. And so depending on all of these things, we're going to be able to look at different aspects. So let's start by illustrating the user side for AI with a concrete example coming from Microsoft. Thank you, Cyril. I'd encourage you to have a look at the page on, if you type in AI and shared responsibility model, you have got the details about what Cyril's just said. Now, who uses Teams every day? Quick survey here. Who uses Teams? Okay, well, I won't give you the statistics, but we're about 90%. Thank you very much. I'm going to try and illustrate in Microsoft 365 what a Copilot can provide you with. Now, this is Copilot for Microsoft 365. So this is the suite that you will use. Now, we're going to use the LM model, which is based on GPT-4 and LI, and we're going to use data which is already in your environment, and we're going to enable Copilot to think about the information which has already been stored on the graph, if you've heard of this before, and it will enable you to use it in the form of a prompt by asking questions which will, well, the orchestrator is going to go and look for all of the information that's available to you. So just a comment here with regards to the person in charge of security, as you are. You've got to make sure that each user has access only to specific data, only the data that he or she should have access to. That's very important. And then after that, whatever the application may be in Microsoft 365, you can use the prompt and generative AI. In order to illustrate this, let's have a look at a quick video on a Teams illustration that I'm going to try and present. And as the video continues, you can see that here I'm in Outlook. I decide not to participate in a meeting, but to follow a meeting, meaning that I'm not going to be present because I'm here today. I'm at INCYBER, but there are meetings going on without me. So once the meeting has taken place, I'm going to be able to consult the content of the meeting. So it's just in 3 lines in general. And then if during this meeting, information is interesting to me. So, for example, if my name was mentioned, if there's an action that concerns me, I can see that action here, or the members of my team who are involved. So imagine that you go away for a holiday for 2 weeks, you've missed lots and lots of meetings, you come back to the office, within 10 minutes, you've got a quick summary of all of the meetings that have taken place without you. And you can see the savings in terms of time the only prerequisite is to activate the transcript of the meeting so that it can think about all of the information which has been mentioned or raised during that meeting. So you can all see the benefits of this in Teams, but imagine that you're in Word, you've got a Word document, and you want to create a PowerPoint slide. You ask Copilot to create a PowerPoint presentation with Word, and automatically you will have slides generated. Same thing in Loop, for example. If you use Loop, I love Loop, and I'd encourage you to have a look. And you can use Copilot directly on the user interface. Now, you as experts in security, but also all of your other colleagues who can start to use this generative AI on a daily basis. Now, we saw via Copilot, if we look at all of the governance rules linked to data protection with the user access, users that have access to certain types of information. But what about all of the other technologies and solutions on the basis of generative AI for which you would like to assess the risks? Now, yes, the first aspect is to have this visibility to know what type of application is used by you. And there are means. So when you look at proxies that are connecting to the internet, or when you look at all of the terminals that your users are working on so that you can see where they connect, so you can have inventories with that. The idea is that afterwards, you have to know who the users are, not only the destinations or where they go. The destinations are interesting because you can find yourself in services, like I said before, that aren't compliant, that don't give the good security guarantees. And the users are going to be interesting because you've got users that are more at risk than others, who are going to use more sensitive data. And so we have to raise awareness with them before they make a mistake. And then after that, you've got all of the data which has been generated, because generative AI means that we generate content. And are we governing them well? So the life cycle of that data, as Paul said, becomes more and more important. Are we able, for example, if we created data on the basis of a confidential document, to make sure that the new document, as inherited all of that confidential labeling, does it inherit the DRM in the same way? Is it going to be considered in the same way in a DLP policy so that it can't be leaked, etc.? So there are a whole load of things with the life cycle of the document which become more and more important, and that is revealed by generative AI. And so one of the Microsoft solutions is to give you what we call an AI hub, which is a dashboard in which you're going to be able to obtain information both on Copilot that we mentioned earlier on for your productivity in Microsoft 365, but also with all of the other applications. Now, I can see that a lot of people are still standing up. Come forward, have a seat at the front if you like, so that you can see the screen. On the screen, we've written about Bing Chat, ChatGPT, etc., lots of different applications. And then after that, you've got levels of sensitivity per user. So who are the users who are going to put sensitive data in certain applications, so that you can organize yourself to make sure that all of that is in order and make sure that you can better govern it. Thank you, Cyril. So we've seen Copilot for Microsoft 365. We've seen how we can assess the risks which are linked to the use of applications on the basis of generative AI, over which you'd like to have control. Now let's have a look at the second side of this generative AI, how we're going to be able to help our security teams and our operational teams so that they can also benefit from these GPT-4 models. So what's the challenge? The first one is to say that we're going to try, you and me, you know new DR, XDR, you've got a CM in place, you do managed servicing, you try and encrypt your data with DLP, etc. So I'm just summarizing the 19 years of career in cybersecurity with ups and downs, highs and lows, because solutions evolve and we try and have end-to-end security and protection. Having said that, the roles are quite varied between the person who deals endpoint, the person who deals with identity, the DLP or the detection and response teams. The challenge is going to be to use all of these models so that we can have an overall view of the cyber risk. And that's where we're going to be adding intelligence, and that's where we're going to be using a volume of security signals, a significant via intelligence, which is going to enable you not only thanks to Copilot, because you can consider Copilot as an assistant for the security teams, but it's also going to give you the reference of the technical score of the attacker, X or Y, and the tactics that are linked to that attacker. So that's the challenge. And how does it work? If we have a look under the hood to have a look at how Copilot works, and this time we're going to be talking about Copilot for security teams. On the left-hand side, you have got the LM model based on LMI and GPT-4. Now in blue, we've got an orchestrator which is going to interpret the security signals. Now when I say these signals, I mean your signals, the tools and technologies that you've developed for security and rolled out in your environment, the Defender, which is in your system, and all of the tools for security and ID which are in your environment. And then after that, we're going to add information with regards to threat intelligence that I mentioned earlier on, and we're going to develop certain skills which are going to be plugins and which are then going to interrogate the different technologies. And so it's your data. Your data isn't used to make the model turn or roll, but after that, we started in October with Copilot for Security with about 10 French companies that are using it, and the official release is next week, so you're getting a little bit of a preview of what we're going to be announcing next week. But we've got the top 10 prompts. You've got the 10 prompts that were most used over the last 4 months by our customers who've been using Copilot for Security. For those of you who can't see it very well at the back, we'll give you the slides afterwards. Now, I'm going to give you 3. I'm going to quote them. Number 2, if a user is listed in the incident details, show which devices they recently used and indicate if they are compliant with policies.
So quite an intense question about Copilots. They are going to look for the information linked to the user, what are the devices, the laptop that they use, and have there been strange attempts recently. Second example, I'd like to know the threat actors. So according to the name that I've mentioned earlier on, is there a strange, weird actors, for example, Typhoon or another? That can be interesting for me. I'd like to know what are the associated IOCs, what are the tactics of the actor, and especially if there aren't behaviors in my company that would lead me to think that I'm targeted by that actor. So it's interesting to have that link between the actor and the intelligence, and also an EDA process. And then the last one, I have a ticketing service, ServiceNow, or that kind of thing. And I'd like to know what is linked to an incident and also link it to my ticketing tool. That way, I have a total overview of the incident. And I've told you about Copilot. There is the possibility to use PowerPoints. Once you have the recap of an incident, you can generate the associated PowerPoint. So I leave you imagine things, and I see the people in the front row that are interested. Up to you to determine how long it takes you today and how long that could take you with the tool. When we talk about a user experience, there are 2 kinds of experiences. We try to adapt according to the profiles of the people behind the screen. So if you allow me to clarify something, what we create with Copilot for Security as a platform will get connected to all your tools, not just Microsoft. If you made bad choices in your life, never mind. We can recognize it. No, that's a joke here. You're always right. Your choices are good. But if you took another tool, well, never mind. As long as you have the plugin mentioned by Paul, you can use Copilot for Security to interrogate that tool as a source of data and security, which is valid in your company. That's the interest of the approach. So if you key in things in your tools, that's the left approach. That's the autonomous one, the standalone. Just imagine you are on a page, a console, where you have a text tab, and you ask question, and the orchestrator selects the safety tool, the source of safety, the base that is the most relevant for your question. And you can also give some indications. If you see that they don't know exactly, for example, if I ask a question on the incident, you can have incidents on the SIEM. You can tell, go and find incidents in EDR. So you can give an indication of the target. All plugs in can be selected. You can even activate or deactivate some. So you use natural language in order to key in your message in the security data. And if necessary, you increase the information, you become more explicit. So these are all possible use cases. You have the possibility to do some deep investigation, go and find odd things. There is the reporting that you have mentioned. And the reporting time is divided by 3 compared to manual tool. And the other tasks are usually divided, I would say, 40% of time saved. Then there is a second mode, the integrated one. And for the time being, it's only part of Microsoft tools. When you visit the portal of your XDR, you have a leaflet contextualized according to the incident that you are looking at, and you'll receive relevant actions. For example, if you are examining a script, the tool will tell you, do you want me to analyze it? If you look at an incident, do you want a summary? Because there are 50 alerts. So let me show you a demo. So we start in the XDR of Microsoft. You have an incident on an SAP device. And on the right, you have the summary of the incident automatically generated by Copilot, and also recommended actions on what you could do. The user has been removed from SAP, has been enabled in the directory. And in fact, it's a phishing. The user had access to it from a bad IP service, and some data has been exfiltrated. And you see that there are some elements that are automatically proposed. That IP address is known as bad. You have an automatic request, a query, and then you can say, I'm not interested in all of them. And then you can get 2 that work well on a PC by Sarah. So you consider them as alerts in your system. You enrich your incident origin, and then you can examine what happened on Sarah's device. If you have a look at Sarah's device, you can see the tree structure of what the EDR has detected. You have a script that is non-readable. But obfuscation can be changed. So you analyze the script, and Copilot gives you the analysis of the script with the explanations line per line to tell you that it's malicious. In fact, there was a zip and it was sent and so on. Then you get some suggestions. Do you want to activate remediations? That's a suggestion. So I can say yes. And then I can say, OK, close the incident and sum it up. And you have here the summary. We can see that I have classified the incident as a real positive, that I've taken some actions, for example, automatic remediation, sending an email to the user, checking the URL reputation in VirusTotal base, and also check the network events. And in the actions, I've automatically suspended, that was done by EDR. The attack has been stopped on the certainty that there was an attack. And then there were some actions so that the user changes the password, has to log again and restart. And then we have erased all PowerShell malicious files. So today, how does it happen? Beyond the XDR of Microsoft, the Defender one, we also have a CM called a Sentinel. And for years, we've been telling you that we were working so that the products can work hand in hand. So if you select to have both, some synergies are created. That synergy is illustrated today in a console which is unified between the 2 tools. The same incidents, the same information coming from both tools are to be found at the same place, with the experience that you've just seen, Copilot that is contextualized and that says, I have analyzed your malicious PowerShell, but at any time I can say, OK, very good, but I get out of the integrated experience, bring me to the standalone experience, because I want to interrogate other tools than Microsoft. And then I can go beyond the questions that were automatically asked in the integrated experience, and I can ask, tell me what's happening in the ServiceNow ticket service, what's happening elsewhere, and so on and so forth. So that's really something that can change the way you envisage security and help you think differently the way you are organized when you want to manage some security incidents. So we've seen it with the XDR experience. Copilot for security, you can select some plugins, as I've told you, and you have it on the screen. On the left, you have the list of plugins that are associated to technologies of Microsoft solutions, Defender systems, but there is also Entra. There is a lot of interest to have additional information in terms of contacts on the sign-in, the risky sign-in of your users. Some tests have been done on the accounts of X person. I'd like to know if her device has been compromised. And then you change your priority incidents. So on the left, you have the list of Microsoft security technologies, and on the right, you have managed service providers that can also develop plugins and who are part of a Microsoft program so that they can develop adaptations according to the context. And you also have some ISVs, some are present downstairs in the forum. They have a stand, and they have developed plugins to allow a Copilot for security to search from the data and the signals that they have in their technology. So there is a use of Microsoft tools, CM, PureView, Identity, but also the extension to the whole ISV system that accepted to play the game and developing the plugins. And of course, the list is being extended step by step. If you want to know more, there are some demos on the stand. That stand C12. You have technological experts here as well to answer your questions. And if you wish, on the 25th of April at ICI Bolino, the headquarters of Microsoft, we have a one-day session with some customer feedbacks, people who used Copilot in their production, who can share their experience with you. And there you can discover some new solutions around the attack path. But I won't tell you more. You can get more information in the next days. I thank you for your attention. The 30-minute session was very short. We know that with Cyril. There is a lot to say around generative AI. We've shown you some demos, some videos, practical things that you can set up from today on. And I encourage you to come and see us. Even at the end of the session, come and ask your questions if you want to. Thank you, Cyril. Enjoy the day.